Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Meiman. Concubine becomes stronger, Spider Gwen intercepts the beard. Lin Fan travels through the world of beauty in manga, awakening the multi-child and multi-blessing system. Wives and concubines become ***, rewards explode. Lin Fan, who took a 2.5 year leave of absence from school, said, "Isn't this unfortunate? Our desk mate is Spider Gwen. Ding, Spider Gwen, reward. Spider induction. Ding, date Phoenix woman, reward. Phoenix power. Ding, sharing the Shockwave girl, reward. Shockwave fruit. Ding, double road magical woman, Natasha, reward. Ever-changing, Super Scion constitution. Ding, Wall Dong Crimson Witch, reward. Chaos power. Ding. Starting from the intercepting Spider Gwen, Lin Fan embarked on a sexual life of philatelic beauty. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 1. People are in beautiful comics. Multi-child multi-blessing system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hello everyone, I am Lin Fan, who has been on leave for 2.5 years. I am male and have a passion for women. At Zhongqing High School, Lin Fan stood calmly at the front of the classroom. Looking at more than 30 men and women below, his gaze focused on the pair at the forefront, with a faint smile rising from the corner of his mouth. Ignoring the man directly, he looked straight at the girl in front of him and said, "Especially beautiful women like Gwen, you." As Lin Fan's words fell, ding, the host becomes Spider Gwen's classmate, and the completion rate of the task has greatly increased. Ding, the task completion has reached the reward requirements. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving the reward. Spider sensing. Spider Gwen upgraded version of the same model. The cold system prompts rang one after another. But when Lin Fan heard it in his ears, he felt incredibly pleasant. Spider sensing. This ability is amazing. Lin Fan nodded, secretly satisfied. The same superpower as Spider-Man can predict the arrival of danger in advance. The heavens and earth are vast, and small lives are the greatest. Lin Fan, who has just traveled, said he really likes this ability. Just 3 days ago, he unexpectedly traveled to this unfamiliar world and awakened the multi-child and multi-blessing system. And the cause was just that he glanced at Gwyneth Stacy more in the crowd. Task. Cut off the Spider Gwen time limit. None task requirement. Just because I glanced at you more in the crowd, the host encountered the A-level plot female lead Gwen Stacy. Please intercept the Spider Gwen for population development. Reward. Depending on completion level, the Duozidwafu system. I think it's the LSP system. Lin Fan secretly said something to himself. Thinking that Lin was sitting upright, he never expected to cross into the world of beautiful comics and awaken this unreliable system. High emotional intelligence means having more children and more blessings, while low emotional intelligence is a scumbag system that deceives emotions. The more wives and children there are, the more rewards there will be. Isn't this making him a scumbag? But thinking of the future, Purple Potato Spirit can destroy half of the life in the entire universe with just one snap of its finger. Lin Fan thinks the system seems to be right. In order to save the population crisis and thwart the conspiracy of Purple Potato Spirit, Lin could only sacrifice his ego to fulfill his greater self. Of course, these are all jokes, and Lin Fan's real goal is still to receive rewards. A woman or something will only affect the speed at which she becomes stronger. However, in order to obtain rewards, he can only follow the requirements of the system, and people in the martial arts world cannot control themselves. The most troublesome thing is to guide women. Just as Lin Fan received the system reward, the whole class suddenly erupted in an uproar. This new classmate, you are really brave. Everyone stared at Lin Fan with wide eyes, unable to believe what they heard. Even the teacher next to Lin Fan was stunned for a moment. "Are you here for school today or for a blind date?" What? What? Gwyneth Daisy, who was struggling with her own physical transformation, suddenly regained consciousness and her pretty face lit up with a blush. She glared at Lin Fan with a calm expression, and a hint of shame and anger flashed in her eyes. Being publicly confessed is indeed a recognition of her charm. But in front of so many people and still in class, it really caught her off guard and left her at a loss. Although Lin Fan is very handsome, she is almost turning into a monster. How could she have the mood to date Lin Fan? But for some reason, looking at Lin Fan's deep, pitch-black eyes, she inexplicably felt a very familiar feeling. It's like there's something on Lin Fan that's attracting her. Is it heartbroken? It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. We just met, and Gwen Stacy is not that shallow girl who looks at her face. Shaking his head to shake off his distractions, Gwen pretended to be indifferent and said, "Thank you for your liking, classmate. However, currently I only want to focus on my studies and have no plans for dating." Her aloof posture immediately reassured all classmates and teachers. Sure enough, Gwen Stacy is still the high and cold school flower. Lin Fan is simply seeking self-humiliation. But Lin Fan, who was publicly rejected by Gewen, showed no awkwardness in his expression, and even a meaningful smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Ding, Gwen Stacy's favorability has increased, and her task completion rate has slightly improved. Not having it now doesn't mean there won't be it in the future. Listening to the system prompt, Lin Fan looked at Gwen Stacy. His tone was somewhat profound as he said, "Besides, we are two of the same kind of people." As he spoke, Lin Fan calmly looked at Gwyneth Daisy, his perception and stance quietly released. And it's almost an instant effort. Schwa. Gwen Stacy, who was originally sitting there, stood up in shock from her seat. You. Her phoenix eyes widened, and she looked at Lin Fan like a monster. At this moment, Lin Fan gave her a sense of danger. But this danger is not a threat to life, but an instinctive warning, even with a familiar illusion. As Lin Fan said, they really seem to be the same type of person. A type of monster with special abilities, or superpowers. Hush. Isn't it? Isn't it? This guy wouldn't have really chased away the school flower, would he? Seeing Gwen Stacy's reaction, the whole class was dumbfounded. They were originally very happy to be classmates with the school flower. But if the school flower is taken away by someone else, and it's still an Asian who just transferred, wouldn't they all become clowns? For a moment, many male classmates looked at Lin Fan with unfriendly eyes. How can our goddess kneel under your jeans? 2. Take a 2. and .5. year leave of absence. At the beginning, the intercepting spider Gwen. You are listening at novel full.audio. In the back seat, Lightning Thompson's eyes spewed flames. Damn the yellow-skinned monkey. His gaze towards Lin Fan was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Because Lin Fan's behavior is exactly what he has always wanted to do but dared not, just because he is also secretly in love with the school flower Gwen Stacy. At this moment, Lin Fan confessed in front of Gewen, as if offending his scales. He had already planned to give Lin Fan a harsh lesson. A lowly Asian person who dares to covet beautiful women like Gwen must let Lin Fan know what foolishness is. At the same time, Peter Parker next to Gwen Stacy was also envious. Because he is also secretly in love with his beautiful desk mate. Unfortunately, he has always been introverted and never dared to express his thoughts. He can only get close to Gwyneth Stacy by doubling his studies. Lin Fan, please sit down quickly. Seeing the situation somewhat uncontrollable, Teacher Sandy quickly spoke up and stopped. She tried to make Lin Fan quickly sit back in his seat. If she had known that Lin Fan was such a prick, she shouldn't have agreed to accept him, but who would have let him borrow the principal's relationship? She is just a teaching teacher and cannot refuse orders from the principal at all. Okay, teacher. Lin Fan's Hun nodded obediently. However, Teacher Sandy had an ominous premonition. The whole class thought there was no play to watch, but they saw Lin Fan walking straight to Peter Parker's side. Wait. Teacher Sandy quickly wanted to stop Lin Fan. This classmate. However, Lin Fan was the first to speak up. I have a bit of myopia in my eyes, and I'm afraid it might affect my studies. Can you give me your spot? As Lin Fan spoke, a harmless smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The whole class was stunned by this appearance. Is this also okay? Watching Lin Fan openly snatch Peter Parker's seat, and with such outrageous reasons, everyone once again refreshed their understanding of Lin Fan. This guy is not only bold and reckless, but also lies without blinking his eyes. Your big Katsura eyes look better than some girls. Is it okay to say that you are nearsighted? When I saw someone Gwen, I couldn't see clearly, but now I'm nearsighted again, right? Classmate, you're going too far. At this moment, an angry reprimand sounded. Lightning Thompson glared at Lin Fan and said coldly. Gwen has already directly rejected you, but you still continue to pester them. Besides, are you pursuing your studies? I'm too embarrassed to point you out. I advise you, my classmate, to be more self-centered. This is New York, not East Asia. Looking coldly at Lin Fan, Lightning Thompson narrowed his eyes slightly. The anger in his heart was almost erupting. Lin Fan openly confessed to Gwen, but now he still wants to sit with Gwen, which is definitely something he cannot tolerate. Although he doesn't know what it means to be close to the water and have the moon first. But for Lin Fan's almost fruitless behavior, he must stop it no matter what. Who? Peter Parker breathed a sigh of relief when he heard someone speaking to him, feeling conflicted. He didn't expect Lightning Thompson to speak up to help him. But thinking about how the other party had bullied him before and warned him not to have any ulterior motives towards Gwen, he quickly understood the reason why the other party helped him. Faced with such two competitors, he felt very desperate. Does he want to let the goddess fall into someone else's arms? It has nothing to do with you. Lin Fan spoke calmly without even looking at Lightning Thompson. But he will not ignore the mockery and provocation of the other party. Don't be fooled by Lightning Thompson's selfless demeanor, but his careful thinking is evident, and even his words contain hidden threats and humiliation. This is New York, not East Asia, which is like racial discrimination against him. He is not the kind of personality that allows others to ride his face and output. Classmate, please help me. Ignoring the Lightning Thompson, Lin Fan smiled at Peter Parker and said. When I have time, I'll treat you to steak, and we can also be considered friends. I promise that some people will never bully you again in the future. His words were already a complete declaration of war against Lightning Thompson. Because everyone, including Sandy, knows that Lightning Thompson is a school bully and often bullies people like Peter Parker who have no power or influence. Now that Lin Fan openly declared war, it immediately caused many people to secretly exclaim. Surprisingly, someone dares to resist Thompson. There's a good show to watch. This bastard kid. Teacher Sandy is almost suffocated. She just wants to be a teacher quietly and earn some money to support her family. Why did she encounter so many top-notch students? Beautiful academic powerhouse Gwen Stacy. Eternal second Peter Parker. School bully Lightning Thompson. Now there's another lawless Lin Fan. As soon as she thought about teaching these few people at the same time for the next 6 months, she suddenly felt like her head was getting bigger. Lin Fan, please give me a moderate stop. As she watched the situation escalate, Teacher Sandy said in a deep voice. Gwen and Peter are both top 2 students in the school, and have even received an invitation to enter a state university. Please find a separate seat and don't delay their studies. Teacher, how could you say that? I just want to learn. Lin Fan innocently spread his hand and said. I took a 2.5 year leave of absence before, just to catch up with my learning progress. That's why I wanted to sit with Gwen. Don't underperforming students have the right to study hard? As soon as these words were spoken, Teacher Sandy's words immediately became stagnant. The whole class suddenly exclaimed, "Top." Lin Fan may seem serious and nonsense, but when he speaks well and makes sense, they are speechless. 3. Good person card. Peter Parker people are all stupid. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Peter, let's quickly change seats, don't waste everyone's time. After persuading Teacher Sandy, Lin Fan turned to look at Peter Parker. This guy's face was full of shock and confusion at this moment. I'm wasting everyone's time. Peter Parker, who was already stunned by Lin Fan's sophistry, felt like he was all dumbfounded. Who is he meowing and wasting everyone's time? Besides, when did I promise you? But looking at Lin Fan's sharp eyes, he couldn't say a word of rejection and could only turn to Teacher Sandy for help. Because of his excellent grades, Teacher Sandy was speaking for him just now. He didn't believe that Lin Fan could still ignore the authority of Teacher Sandy. Faced with Peter Parker's earnest gaze, Teacher Sandy sighed helplessly. She no longer wants to get involved in this mess. Whether it's Lightning Thompson or Lin Fan, they are all people she can't afford to provoke. But can't you avoid her if you can't provoke her? Even if the two of them turned a pig's brain into a dog's brain for Gwen's sake, it would cause even the most serious trouble. But as long as she doesn't cause any trouble in her class, it's enough. Peter, you are a good student. Facing Peter Parker's gaze, Teacher Sandy squeezed out an ugly smile. And her words also brought joy to Peter Parker's heart. Sure enough, the teacher is standing on my side. It's not in vain for him to stay up late studying. Now not only can he sit at the same table as the goddess Gwen, but even the teacher will unconditionally help him speak. Lin Fan still wants to grab his position. Humph, I won't let you succeed. Peter Parker secretly became proud. But then, Teacher Sandy's tone changed. Lin Fan's special situation deserves recognition for his dedicated and serious attitude towards learning. Could you please be humble, Peter? Peter Parker. What? When I heard what Teacher Sandy said, Peter Parkton was dumbfounded. What about the agreed academic privilege? Teacher, your stance is too weak, right? Damn it. In the back seat, Lightning Thompson was filled with shame and anger. He feels like a clown. Not only did Lin Fan ignore him directly, but even Teacher Sandy and Peter Parker didn't care about his existence. Even Gwen Stacy didn't even turn her head to look at him the whole time. The feeling of being ignored made him feel ashamed and angry. And they are all bestowed by Lin Fan. If his gaze could kill someone, his almost fiery gaze would have already cut Lin Fan with countless knives. Ha! Sensing Thompson's killing intent from Lightning, Lin Fan didn't take it seriously at all. He has obtained an upgraded version of spider sensing ability. Perhaps not invincible, but facing ordinary people like Lightning Thompson, it's not easy for him to solve them. A mere ant, not worth mentioning. Lin Fan kindly helped Peter Parker pack his things and then watched him walk to the back seat. There is an empty space prepared for him with skills there. And coincidentally, it's right behind Lightning Thompson. Ha! Lin Fan didn't even glance at Lightning Thompson. But when he was about to retract his gaze, he was surprised to find that Peter Parker's new desk mate gave him a very familiar feeling. The purple-haired girl sitting quietly in the corner gives people a feeling of pity at first sight. And Lin Fan always felt like he had seen this person somewhere before. Purple hair. Black pupils. Who the hell is it? Lin Fan muttered to himself. At this moment, a sudden system prompt sounded, giving Lin Fan an answer. Ding, host encounters a level plot female lead. Jessica Jones. Ding, the host triggers a system task. Educate Jessica Jones time limit. None task requirement. Jessica Jones suffered a tragedy throughout her life. As a determined young man with comprehensive development in morality, intelligence, physical fitness, aesthetics, and labor, please guide Jessica Jones to break free from the sea of suffering. Reward. Depending on completion level, Jessica Jones. Upon hearing the system prompt, Lin Fan suddenly realized. He also remembered the plot related to the other party. As the system suggests, Jessica Jones is a very tragic character who lived through painful experiences for the first half of her life. During high school, the family was hit by a military vehicle loaded with radioactive chemicals. Jessica Jones became an orphan without a father or mother. I was finally adopted and even unexpectedly activated my superpowers, but I was controlled and tortured by the superpower Zebdiakergrave. It wasn't until she met everyone from the Avengers that she finally broke free from control. But at this moment, she was already tormented and loveless. Hey, it's really difficult to be a good person. Jessica Jones, I'm also trying to save you. Lin Fan withdrew his gaze and confirmed in his heart to take on the task. And almost at the same time. Ding, the host has become Jessica Jones, and the completion rate of the task has greatly improved. Ding, the task completion has reached the reward requirements. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving the reward. Superman Fitness. Jessica Jones' same upgraded version, the cold system prompts rang one after another. Is that all? Upon hearing the system prompt, Lin Fan was slightly surprised. Is the speed of completing this task too fast? He clearly didn't do anything. Lin Fan instinctively looked towards the back row of the classroom, his gaze exactly opposite Jessica Jones's 4 eyes, and he immediately lowered his head like an ostrich. And he also saw that Jessica Jones's face was full of panic and fear. It's like stealing and eating a caught little rabbit. What? Lin Fan is even more confused. But soon he understood that he was a sensitive and fragile person, very concerned about the gaze of others. Simply put, it is inferiority complex, feeling inferior due to one's own tragic experiences. Hey, he's also a tough kid. Lin Fan sighed inwardly and sat next to Gwen Stacy. He showed some mercy towards Jessica. Compared to the wealthy girl Gwen, Jessica's experience is too tragic, and it can even be said that her entire life is a tragedy. If possible, he doesn't mind giving the other person a hand. Anyway, it's all for system rewards. 4. I know you're in a hurry, but don't worry yet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the original setting, Jessica Jones was indeed Spider-Man's classmate. But the Spider-Man in this world is Gwen Stacy. It can only be said that this is a chaotic parallel world. Lin Fan easily accepted it. And he is also very satisfied with the ability to trigger the mission again and obtain a superhuman physical ability in vain. Spider sensing combined with superhuman physical abilities is a perfect match, isn't it? What's wrong, Gwen? Do I have any flowers on my face? Looking at Gwen Stacy, who was still shocked, Lin Fan pretended to be innocent and said. Although I know you're in a hurry, don't worry for now. It's not the time to talk about certain things. Besides, I'll be shy if you keep looking at me like this. What? Gwen Stacy. Upon hearing what Lin Fan said, Gwen Stacy felt like she was all dumbfounded. She has never seen someone as thick-skinned as Lin Fan. But for some reason, feeling the familiar feeling that came from Lin Fan, she was stunned and couldn't feel any aversion or rejection. Even on the contrary, she had a sense of joy in finding her own kind. This feeling made her unable to resist wanting to approach Lin Fan. The unease and fear she had initially experienced due to discovering a mutation in her body slowly dissipated as Lin Fan sat next to her. And listening to Lin Fan's meaning, it seems that he already knows the secret about her. Even the other party is willing to tell her what's going on. For a moment, her heart became increasingly urgent. "Humph, you're overthinking." Under strong pressure, Gwen Stacy moaned with a strange feeling in her heart. But her gaze occasionally glanced at Lin Fan. For such a sudden appearance of the same kind, she couldn't help but want to approach, explore, and calm her anxious heart. Of course, she simply wants to know why her body has mutated. It has nothing to do with any relationship between men and women. Ding, Gwen Stacy's favorability has increased, and task completion has slightly improved. In Lin Fan's ear, a cold system prompt quietly sounded. Upon hearing the system prompt, Lin Fan raised a playful curve at the corner of his mouth. He can now see it. At this time, Gwyneth Daisy was just a rookie who had just acquired superpowers, and had not yet grown into the decisive Spider-Woman who would kill later. Everyone thinks Gwen Stacy is a cold and beautiful schoolflower. But in fact, Gwen is actually a very kind girl. Like all Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen adheres to the principle of greater ability, greater responsibility, and does his best to help others. Underneath her seemingly aloof appearance, there is actually a fiery and warm heart hidden. However, most people are deceived by Gwen's appearance. Just like Peter Parker and Lightning Thompson, who both have a crush on Gwen but never have the courage to confess their feelings to each other. If that's the case, then don't blame Lin for cutting off his beard. He is still hoping to receive more system rewards. Cough. At this moment, Teacher Sandy on the podium coughed lightly and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are now starting our class." As she spoke, she glanced at Lin Fan and Gewen with a hint in her eyes. And her meaning is self-evident. Even if you have a background, now it's time for class, and you too should stop flirting. Upon seeing this, Lin Fan did not intentionally confront Teacher Sandy again. He quietly wrote a note and handed it to Gwen Stacy. "This guy." Gwen Stacy secretly gritted her teeth. They were sitting in the first row, and Lin Fan handed her a small note in front of the teacher. Isn't this intentional trouble for her? At first, she refused, but in the end, she couldn't resist her curiosity. Feeling guilty, she glanced at Teacher Sandy who was giving a lecture. Taking advantage of the other person's lowered head, she quickly took Lin Fan's small note and, feeling guilty, sandwiched it between the textbooks. She pretended to listen attentively and quickly glanced at the small note. "I saw a line of words written on it. If you want to answer your doubts, then go on a date with me. Don't leave after school tonight, see you on the playground, schedule a date." Upon seeing the content on the note, Gwen Stacy immediately widened her phoenix eyes. She once again witnessed Lin Fan's thick skin. To put it bluntly, it's called straightforwardness and frankness. To put it bluntly, isn't it just teasing her? But Westerners have always been mature and open-minded about gender relationships. She hesitated for a moment before deciding to agree to Lin Fan's invitation. Perhaps from Lin Fan's words, she can answer the reason for her body's mutation, and she does not resist Lin Fan's confession in her heart. This mysterious sunny big boy is actually very attractive to her. Having made a decision in her heart, Gwen Stacy glanced at Teacher Sandy. Seeing that the other party didn't seem to pay attention to her, she quickly wrote a word on the small note and quietly handed it to Lin Fan beside her. Lin Fan took the small note and saw that the corner of his mouth suddenly raised slightly. Because the words on it are very simple. Okay. The date invitation was accepted, and Lin Fan appeared to be in a good mood. Afterwards, he did not continue to make any small moves. After all, he will still have to work in the class in the future, and no matter what, he needs to give Sandy some face. He spent money to establish a relationship with the principal, but it was a one-time deal. He has started to look forward to exposing the scenes of the Spider-Man plot to Gwen. At that time, Gwen's favorability will definitely increase significantly. Although it's not a romantic relationship, Lin Fan doesn't think it's a big deal as long as he can receive system rewards. There is a money-giving boy who can reward for free prostitution, and he doesn't have to take any responsibility. Where can I find such a good thing? Who? You're quite sensible. Teacher Sandy breathed a sigh of relief when she saw Lin Fan sitting in a precarious position. The little movements of Lin Fan and the others could not be concealed from her eyes. But fortunately, Lin Fan was not too presumptuous, so she just turned a blind eye and ignored Quan. At the same time, the Lightning Thompson sitting behind was almost bursting with anger. Damn it! You're so damn. Lightning Thompson's eyes were almost ready to spew fire. His gaze never left Lin Fan and Gwen, and he naturally caught his eye on the small movements between them throughout the process. I thought Teacher Sandy would stop speaking, but I didn't expect it to go against my wishes. Watching my beloved goddess flirt with others. He feels like he's been turned green. If it weren't for the conditions not allowing it, he would have wished he could have cut Lin Fan to pieces to vent his hatred. And he also made up his mind to make Lin Fan pay the price. Lin Fan is just a yellow-skinned monkey who deserves to be trampled on and humiliated by them. What qualification does he have to touch the goddess in his heart? 5. Strategy Spider Gwen. Licking a dog has nothing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding-ling-ling. Ding-ling-ling. As the bell rang, the long class finally came to an end. The students who have suffered greatly can finally relax. But unlike Lightning Thompson and Peter Parker, who spend their days like lightning, Lin Fan enjoyed the whole class incredibly well, occasionally sneaking around with his new desk mate Gwen. And Gwen's favorability also increased instead of decreasing. Under the control of Director George's father, Gwen, who has always been a well-behaved girl, has never been so actively pursued or even teased by a boy. Especially when Lin Fan suspected her, same kind, she instinctively developed a sense of identification. At first, she was a bit angry and felt that Lin Fan was too reckless. But later on, she gradually got used to it and enjoyed it. In front of all her classmates and teachers, it felt incredibly exciting and made her heart beat faster. I'm so tired. Lin Fan stretched lazily and patted Gwen's shoulder. Who? Gwen instinctively turned his head. When she saw that there was no one behind her, she was momentarily taken aback and then realized that she had been teased again. You guy. Gwen gritted his teeth and waved his fist at Lin Fan. Before she could hit Lin Fan, he got up first and left his seat, walking straight outside the classroom. Hee, just a joke, don't take it seriously. Lin Fan waved his hand at Gwen and his figure quickly disappeared outside the classroom door. Gwen, sitting in his original position, rolled his eyes in hatred. Lin Fan, this bastard, is so despicable. Gwen gritted his teeth and gritted his teeth. She has always been a homestead girl, and after thinking for a while, she couldn't find a suitable word. She found that she didn't even know what to say when cursing. In the end, she only thought of the adjective bastard. At the same time. Damn it. The Lightning Thompson people in the back row are almost jealous. Gwen is actually flirting with Lin Fan. In just one short class, Gwen was tricked into doing this by Lin Fan. How long will it take to get back to it? He felt that he had to do something quickly. Otherwise, the goddess in his heart would kneel under someone else's jeans. Don't worry, Gwen. I will never stand by and let you be deceived by that damn yellow-skinned monkey. Glancing at Gwen with an expression, Thompson walked out of the classroom through the back door. At the same time, there were also several mischievous young people who left. Thompson, due to his extraordinary family background, got along well in school and became a younger brother with many classmates. When Thompson bullied Peter Parker before, this group of people were the audience and even accomplices. Now they are preparing to take action against Lin Fan. Gwen, who was secretly coquettish, did not notice the departure of Thompson and others. But Peter Parker witnessed this scene throughout. Thompson and the others. Peter Parker's face froze as he realized what was going to happen next. He instinctively wanted to find a teacher to stop Lin Fan from being bullied. But thinking of the intimate interaction between Lin Fan and Gwen, his face suddenly darkened, and his body, which had just stood up, sat back in its original position. "I'm sorry, it's not my fault. I don't know anything." Peter Parker's face flashed with a hint of guilt. But for some reason, the thought of Lin Fan being bullied by Thompson and others gave him a burst of joy in his heart. This thought made him secretly shocked, not understanding why his heart was so dark. Looking at Gwen's back, he gritted his teeth and lowered his head to read. "I am about to graduate, and Lin Fan is directing and influencing Gwen's studies. I am also doing this for Gwen's good." Peter Parker comforted himself in his heart. And by Peter Parker's side. Jessica Jones's phoenix eyes flickered slightly. Feeling the superhuman power on her body, she hesitated for a moment before silently getting up and leaving the classroom. The accident at the time caused her to lose her beloved family. Even she herself has become some kind of monster. Infinite strength. Speed like the wind. No knives or guns can penetrate. Water and fire do not invade. Travel in the air. As she learned about herself, she became increasingly shocked by the changes that had occurred in her body. But she would rather not have acquired the power of these superhumans. After all, the cost of acquiring superpowers is too cruel. This tragic past led her to become an autistic girl until the Jones family sincerely adopted and accepted her. And because of these experiences, she suddenly realized that she could use her abilities to do good things. Afterwards, during a test of her abilities, she defeated a villain named Scorpio and put on her uniform, becoming a superhero named Treasure Woman. Her chivalrous and righteous experience helped her rediscover the meaning of life. Now she wants to take action to help Lin Fan, who has been targeted. As for the reason. One reason is that she has a good impression of Lin Fan, who has an outgoing personality. Of course, it is simply because she has a good impression, rather than a romantic relationship. The second is that she hates the person Lightning Thompson. Previously, there was a Lightning Thompson's younger brother who wanted to pursue her, but she broke his arm, which led to a rift between the two sides. And she was also slandered by Lightning Thompson and others, giving her the nickname of a monster girl. Even many people in the class rejected and isolated her because of this. Now Lightning Thompson wants to target Lin Fan. Whether in public or private, she cannot let the other party's bullying behavior succeed. At the same time, on the open corridor, Lin Fan gazed at the distant horizon. The fresh air made him feel very good. But at this moment, an untimely sneer and mockery sounded. "Yo yo! Isn't this our new yellow-skinned monkey? Do you really think talking to Gwen would give the toad a chance to eat swan meat?" 6. I was provoked. This plot is really bloody. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lightning Thompson and his group walked over arrogantly. A group of students in the corridor immediately gave way to both sides when they saw this scene. They not only have no fear, but also don't mind the big picture when watching the excitement. Obviously, they have long been accustomed to such things. Even some boys, perhaps after hearing about Lin Fan's deeds, even showed a gloating expression. "Oh, this is a beautiful country." Lightning Thompson's lips curved into a playful smile. Not to mention his connections behind him, just because this is in their white territory, Lin Fan has absolutely no authority to be arrogant. Dare to touch a goddess like Gwen. He must let Lin Fan know why the flowers are so red. Just like how you treated Peter Parker's coward back then. "Kid, is it just you who calls Lin Fan?" Next to Lightning Thompson, a burly boy stood up. He looked down at Lin Fandao at a height of 1.9 meters. "I heard you were very indecisive today and dared to confess your love to Goddess Gwen in public. You're really laughing at me. How could you say that, Balin? They are the heavenly kingdom. The rest of the group also had various yin and yang strange tendencies. Especially with the phrase, Heavenly Kingdom, it directly caused onlookers to burst into laughter, and their gaze towards Lin Fan was full of ridicule. Do your own evil, you cannot live. As a party involved, Lin Fan's eyes flashed with a cold color. But on the surface, he said with a calm expression. Strange. Isn't this school? How could I hear a dog barking? Lin Fan looked puzzled. Under the stunned gaze of others, his gaze seemed to have just caught a glimpse of Thompson and others, pointing to them and saying, I suddenly realized. Oh, I said, why are there dogs barking? There are a few animals here. Ward Fa. As soon as these words were spoken, the onlookers were immediately shocked. Isn't this guy crazy? They looked at Lin Fan incredulously, as if they were looking at monsters, unable to imagine how Lin Fan dared to provoke Thompson and his group. Does Lin Fan really think that Thompson and others dare not take action against him? Ha, good, good. Thompson and others were also a bit stunned, but then burst out laughing. But their smiles appeared wild and cold. They don't really care where Lin Fan's courage comes from, because it won't be long before Lin Fan knows why the flowers are so red. Baron, it seems like someone looks down on you. Thompson said coldly to the burly man. Ha! I heard it. As his words fell, a man named Balin sneered and walked straight towards Lin Fan with great strides. He pinched his sandbag-sized fist as he walked, making a crisp snap. The expression on his face was even more gloomy and could drip water. The arrogant yellow-skinned monkey, I will let you know how to face us in the future. Balin took 3 or 2 steps to approach Lin Fan. With a big wave of his hand, his sandbag-sized fist smashed towards Lin Fan, and the air even made a faint sound of breaking through the air. The onlookers suddenly became excited, as if they had already seen Lin Fan's head broken and bleeding. Some girls who couldn't bear to look directly turned their heads away. Lin Fan stood there with a calm expression. He turned a blind eye to the reactions of the people around him, not even paying attention to the incoming Balin. Spider induction. Superman physical fitness. His combat power is already comparable to that of American Team Steve, and in his eyes, Baron and others are like a group of ridiculous clowns. Since someone actively seeks abuse, he doesn't mind making the other party pay some price. Even he has the means to make certain people disappear completely. Stop it. Before Lin Fan could even make a move, a cold female voice suddenly sounded. Immediately after, a beautiful shadow arrived in an instant. Before everyone could react, the newcomer stood in front of Lin Fan and grabbed the fist that Balin had smashed with her fair little hand. Without any force, the backhand easily threw Balin away. This dramatic scene left everyone stunned on the spot. But when someone saw the appearance of the person who made the move, they instinctively exclaimed. Is it her? The weird girl. Hey, you want to die? Upon hearing the words, the companion quickly grabbed the speaker and ran away. They know the strength of the newcomers. Don't be fooled by the fact that the other person is just a beautiful little girl, but their strange abilities can be terrifying. They even directly pinched a boy's arm. If this is hated by the other party, how will they continue to work in school in the future? Is it you again? Lightning Thompson looked at the person in front of him in anger. He ignored Baron's screams. Staring at the newcomer with fiery eyes, he was slightly worried, but still threatened to say. Jessica Jones, this is a personal grudge between me and that guy. Where are you going crazy? Do you really want to be kicked out of school? When there was a conflict between the two sides, he was forced to compromise because he was unreasonable. But now it's Jessica Jones who takes the initiative to cause trouble. With his connections behind him, just one sentence can make Jessica Jones go, but he still has some fear of the other party's strange power. If he gets resented in the future, he's also afraid of being beaten on the road at night. He has a deep understanding of Jessica Jones's methods. Didn't you see that his little brother's arm was forcefully crushed? Get lost. Faced with Thompson's questioning, Jessica Jones spoke concisely. She has an inherently inarticulate personality. Combined with her previous tragic experiences, she became even more reserved and unwilling to waste her energy on social activities. Only when she becomes a precious woman will she become a different person. A free-spirited and swift heroine. 7. Beat people but not face. Redeem the beautiful girl Jessica. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You. Looking at Jessica Jones, Lightning Thompson's face was gloomy like water. He wanted to fight hard to the end, but considering the terrifying power that the other party possessed, he could only look at Lin Fan with hatred in the end. It's not that our army is not working hard, but why is the enemy unreasonable? People, if you should be cowardly, you must be cowardly. Wait for me. I won't let you go. Putting aside a harsh remark, Lightning Thompson and others left in a gloomy manner. The onlookers scattered like birds and beasts when they saw no excitement to watch. Jessica Jones also wanted to leave with the crowd. But as soon as she took her steps, someone patted her shoulder and a gentle male voice came from behind. Thank you, Jessica. Suddenly slapped on the shoulder, Jessica Jones's delicate body shook violently. She instinctively swung a punch towards her back. But what shocked Jessica Jones was that her punch was easily blocked, and even Lin Fan's speed could not be clearly seen by her. When she realized it, Lin Fan had already tightly grasped the soft catkin in her hand. Hey Jessica, hitting someone is impolite. Lin Fan looked at Jessica Jones with a surprised expression on his face and couldn't help but feel a little emotional. He had a great fondness for the purple-haired girl in front of him from the beginning, not only because of the presence of system tasks. Jessica Jones, a pitiful girl who will make everyone pity her. She maintains a kind heart towards everyone. She also transformed into a precious female hero to uphold justice. But this kind girl was controlled by a guy named Purple Man, and even suffered from both mental and physical torment for countless years. Even though she regained her freedom later on, she still couldn't shake off the shadow of the past. As the system says, Jessica Jones saved many people, but when she fell into an endless abyss, no one redeemed this poor girl. A drop of water's kindness, repay it with a gushing spring. Let me redeem you. Who made me naturally a loving person? Lin Fan chuckled inwardly and looked straight into Jessica Jones's phoenix eyes. He said half seriously and half jokingly. Girls want ladies. Of course, the way you helped me stand out just now was also very cool, I really like it. Hi. Like it. Upon hearing what Lin Fan said, Jessica Jones blushed slightly. Her heart skipped a beat in an instant. Facing Lin Fan's direct gaze, she felt the warmth from the other person's big hands and immediately lowered her small head in panic. As she lowered her head, Lin Fan could only see a beautiful head of purple hair. Jessica Jones said in a mosquito-like voice. You. Don't think too much, I just don't want to see anyone being bullied, and I don't have any thoughts of dating right now. Also. Upon hearing Jessica's words, Lin Fan was stunned. I'm just making fun of you. Hey. But according to Jessica's words, she seems to have been paying attention to herself all along. At this moment. Ding, Jessica Jones' favorability has greatly increased, current favorability. 15%. The cold system prompt quietly sounded. Hey. Is that an improvement? Lin Fan was a little delighted at the sound, feeling that Jessica, who was so sweet and charming, was even cuter. Although he has no idea what he has done. If he couldn't figure it out, he decided not to think anymore, and Lin Fan immediately let go of Jessica's soft skirt. Jessica immediately turned around and prepared to leave. She simply wanted to be chivalrous and righteous. Now that Thompson and others have been driven away by her, she really doesn't know how to face Lin Fan. For autistic girls, socializing with the opposite sex is simply too scary. But in her heart, she became increasingly curious about Lin Fan. Being able to block her fist, even without her realizing it, Lin Fan is clearly not an ordinary person. In this already unfamiliar world, she suddenly felt a joy of finding her kind. But in the end, she suppressed that sense of urgency. Accustomed to the discrimination of others, she was worried that after exposing herself, she would receive Lin Fan's disgust and rejection. Hee, it's really pure and cute. Looking at Jessica's back, Lin Fan's mouth curved slightly. Jessica Jones is now an extremely sensitive person, and trying to redeem him is not something that can happen overnight. Approaching him rashly can only backfire. But a bond has already been formed between the two, and they may develop feelings for each other over time. Speaking of which, he also wants to thank Lightning Thompson. At this point, Jessica Jones's favorability has significantly improved on the task panel, and she is not far from receiving the reward again. According to the system's rules, rewards are distributed based on favorability. For example, he met Gwen for the first time before. As he actively expressed his liking, Gwen's liking reached the level of acquaintance, and the system rewarded him with spider sensing. Once Gwen's favorability increases to mutual understanding, Lin Fan can receive a second reward. Jessica Jones is no exception. Encounter, acquaintance, knowledge, love, and companionship. The system's favorability setting is generally like this. If Lin Fan could marry Gwen or Jessica and have children, the reward would be even more generous. After all, the full name of the system is the Many Children, Many Blessings system. But Lin Fan is well aware that this is not realistic, starting from 3 years to understand. Gwen's father is the New York sheriff. Besides, do you really think the female lead is so easy to guide? 8. Playing tricks on Gwen's little beauty. Just because you are too beautiful. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding-ling-ling. Ding-ling-ling. As the bell rang, Lin Fan stepped into the classroom on time. In an instant, everyone cast strange gazes at him. Shocked, fearful, revered, fearful, resentful, various emotions, one after another. Faced with the gaze of these people, Lin Fan walked back to his original position with a calm expression, and saw Gwen Stacy's small face full of entanglement. This little girl, isn't she worried about me? After a moment of contemplation, Lin Fan guessed Gwen's thoughts. Obviously, the other party has already learned about what happened just now. Smart as Gwen, one can definitely guess the reason why he was targeted, which is why he showed this conflicted expression. From this, it can also be seen that Gwen is really a very kind girl. After all, speaking seriously, this matter has nothing to do with her. Don't worry, Gwen. Before the teacher arrived, Lin Fan leaned over to Gwen. The latter's delicate body also trembled suddenly. What are you doing? Seeing Lin Fan approaching, Gwen's face turned slightly red. She even became stuttering when speaking. When Mary learned from Jane about what happened during the break and who the conflicting parties were, she instantly realized that it was because of herself. If it weren't for Jessica Jones taking action, a conflict would have been inevitable. She believes that Lin Fan, who possesses superpowers, will not suffer any losses. But with the malice of Lightning Thompson, he will inevitably find ways to retaliate against Lin Fan, and Lin Fan will inevitably be entangled in more trouble. And all of this is because she is too beautiful, making so many boys jealous for her. Don't do anything. Lin Fan is unaware of Gwen's inner narcissism. He chuckled and whispered, I'm glad to hear that someone is worried about me, but isn't someone looking down on me too much? After all, we're not ordinary people. Knowing that Gwen had a thin skin, Lin Fan did not directly name him by name. He just joked and comforted Gwen. After all, when it comes to this matter, it has nothing to do with Gwen, everything is just Lightning Thompson's own affair, who cares? Gwen instinctively wanted to refute. But suddenly her tone froze, and she realized later that Lin Fan had not named him by name, but rather that she had confessed to herself. Her small face immediately turned red into an apple, and she turned her head proudly and said, "This matter has nothing to do with me. You should take care of yourself. Anyway, Thompson is not targeting me. You should be the one to worry about when the time comes." Thank you for the reminder." Lin Fan smiled and didn't say anything more. Gwen was clearly reminding him to be careful. Although the other party did not explicitly state it, he could feel their concern, and the system's prompts also proved this. Ding, Gwen Stacy's favorability has increased, current favorability 15%. The continuous system prompts raised Lin Fan's eyebrows. Is that only 15%? That means one more effort will earn you a second reward. Lin Fan's eyes flickered as he casually took out his textbook from the drawer. Task rewards are distributed in stages. According to the system's settings, when the favorability reaches stages such as 20%, 40%, and 60%, he can receive corresponding phased rewards. Currently, both Gwen and Jessica's favorability has reached 15%. As long as you work hard, new rewards will be received. Lin Fan couldn't help but look forward to it. Although he never intended to become a superhero, punching Avengers and kicking Purple Potato Spirit, the more system rewards he received, the better. Even if he wants to be a salted fish, he must not be a salted fish that only knows how to splash water. Carp King. Are you polite? Faced with various future crises, whether he is willing or not, he is inevitably forced to make choices. Lin Fan doesn't want to become the group of people who die 50%. So he must have sufficient means of self-protection. At the same time, watching Lin Fan and Gewen rubbing their ears and hair, someone in the back row suddenly moved to Bungbu. Lightning Thompson's heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. But glancing sideways at Jessica Jones, his face became gloomy again, and his eyes twitched before he made a decision. "I can't handle you in school, what about outside the school?" With a cold snort, Thompson took out his phone and sent a text message. The content on it is very simple. "There's work, come quickly." Unlike Thompson's revenge, Peter Parker felt envious in his heart, but he didn't say anything. His current mood can be described as very complicated. Seeing Lin Fan safe and sound, he felt a bit regretful, but couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After all, what he hates the most is Thompson, who has bullied him. But at this moment, seeing Lin Fan sitting in his seat, soaking in the goddess in his heart, he felt as if he had eaten 10,000 lemons. If he had been braver before, now it would be him talking and laughing with Gwen. Unfortunately, there is no if. Due to the conflict between Lin Fan and Thompson, the atmosphere in the classroom appeared eerie, and the emotions of all students were affected by it. They are all curious about one thing. Will Thompson let Lin Fan go? How long can Lin Fan persist? Who will the genius school flower Gwen fall into? While everyone was discussing, Lin Fan, the party involved, turned a blind eye to external public opinion. Gwen actually invited me to have lunch together. Looking at the small note in his hand, he chuckled to himself. Although I know that Gwen's intention is not to drink, should I agree directly or hesitate before agreeing? 9. Gwen's curiosity. Backhand exposure of Spider-Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding-ling-ling. Ding-ling-ling. With the ringing of the bell, the morning course finally came to an end. Lin Fan has no pressure as a senior in high school. Not to mention that he doesn't care about these things, just in a beautiful country that values freedom, the quality of his grades doesn't represent much. That is Gwen Stacy, who was taught by the sheriff's father since childhood and achieved excellent results. Or it could be someone like Peter Parker from an ordinary background. They yearn to make a comeback by relying on their academic performance. Amidst the attention of the whole class, Lin Fan and Gewen stood up together and walked shoulder to shoulder towards the outside of the classroom. Isn't it? Isn't it? It's only been a morning, and the school flower has been taken down. Seeing this scene, many people immediately widened their eyes. They couldn't believe what they saw. Peter Parker sighed, Jessica Jones was full of envy, and the onlookers didn't mind the excitement. Some good people secretly looked at Lightning Thompson. And without any surprise. At this moment, Lightning Thompson's gaze was gloomy, and his face was gloomy as if he could drip water. He didn't have any unnecessary actions, but the coldness in his eyes made people feel cold. Wait, when you cry. Lightning Thompson thought with hatred, glanced at the phone screen, and a cruel smile rose from the corner of his mouth. I saw a concise text message displayed on the screen. Okay. The sender's note is a thug lawyer. Hell's Kitchen, the 18th floor of a building. In a luxurious decorated office. This is equipped with a built-in boxing ring. At this moment, a man in a suit was fiercely battling his opponent on the boxing ring. The two punched to the flesh, sweating profusely like a suit thug. In 2.5 minutes, the battle is over. The man in the suit slowly stood up, not even looking at his opponent who had already been beaten by him. He panted heavily and walked down from the boxing ring. He went straight to the office and dialed someone's communication on the phone. The bell rang perfectly for 3 seconds before being connected. What's going on? A cold male voice came from across. It seemed as if he had already anticipated that the man in the suit was not angry at the words. He casually poured himself a glass of whiskey. After drinking the wine in one gulp, he just said. Target I, that kid from the Eugene family, needs someone to help him deal with some small troubles. For the sake of the boss's business, could you please personally lead someone to handle it? There was a half-minute silence across the phone. The man in the suit thought the phone had been hung up, and then the other person spoke up. Got it, I'll take care of it. Well, it's been tough. Upon hearing this, the man in the suit smiled and nodded. The boss's knife is very useful, but it has a strange personality. But why isn't he like that himself? In the hellish kitchen of the jungle, only lunatics and perverts can survive to the end. And he also struggled to climb to his current position. Just as the man in the suit sighed. The communication that was supposed to end came back with a voice saying. Benjamin Dono. I warn you. Don't come to me for such small things in the future, otherwise I don't mind pinching your neck with my own hands. When the voice drops, the communication is directly hung up. The man in the suit was also slightly surprised, and then chuckled lightly. I'm really looking forward to it. Zhongqing High School, cafeteria. Lin Fan and Gewen sat opposite each other, but only the two of them sat at the 8-person table. Even if noon is the peak time for school teachers and students to have meals. But both Lin Fan and Gewen could sense that there were countless pairs of eyes staring at them at this moment, including even some people with poor eyesight. Lin Fan. Having no intention of eating, Gewen looked up at Lin Fan. Let's eat first, Gwen. However, Lin Fan shook his head and said. There is an ancient saying in China that goes eat without words, sleep without words, and now is not the time to talk about those topics. As Lin Fan spoke, he looked to the side and his expression became meaningful. And Gwen couldn't help but pout. Hey, I knew I wouldn't have scheduled lunch, but I have to go home on time at night. A hint of helplessness and distress flashed on her small face. Knowing that both of them were very eye-catching and it was peak dining time at noon, she couldn't help but regret inviting Lin Fan for lunch. And in places like the cafeteria, she couldn't even talk to Lin Fan about those sensitive topics. But she really wants to answer her doubts. What exactly happened to the mutation that happened to her? Human error or accident? Eat more shrimp, nourish your brain. Protect your hair. Seeing that Gwen was in a bad mood, Lin Fan handed his stir-fried shrimp to the other party. And his joke even made Gwen roll his eyes wildly. But Gwen's mood has also improved a bit. Without any disdain for Lin Fan, she picked up a fork and took a small bite, behaving elegantly like a medieval noblewoman. I don't know why, but she inexplicably felt that the shrimp flavor today was very good. Gwen, regarding some of your concerns, I know you're in a hurry, but don't worry yet. Seeing Gwen's mood improve, Lin Fan then said meaningfully. Just like your beauty and wisdom, or my handsomeness, what happens to us is nothing more than luck bestowed upon us by heaven. If you want, it can help you become better. Just like a precious girl. On the contrary, you can always keep this secret hidden in your heart. Speaking of the precious woman, Lin Fan glanced not far away. A purple-haired girl is sitting alone in the corner. When she saw the gaze cast by Lin Fan, she immediately panicked and lowered her small head, pretending to be eating. But no matter how you look at it, it looks like you're hiding your ears and stealing bells. Hee hee, it's really cute. Lin Fan chuckled to himself and looked at Gwen in front of him. He paused before continuing. Of course, if you want to know the truth, I happen to know some information. You can come to me for inquiries in the future. You know me, I definitely won't hide anything from you. After all, we are of the same kind. Ding, Gwen Stacy's favorability has increased, currently 21%. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining the stage reward. 10, without mental illness, who would listen to rock music? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving the reward. Spider Constitution. Spider Gwen upgraded version of the same model, the cold system prompt quietly sounded. Spider Physique. This is the rhythm that wants me to transform into Spider-Man. Lin Fan couldn't help but raise his eyebrows when he heard the sound. Previously, he had already received spider sensing, and now he has obtained spider body again. It seems that he is even more powerful than the genuine Spider-Man. Combined with Jessica Jones' superhuman physical fitness, his strength has once again skyrocketed. He couldn't help but expect what the subsequent rewards would be. Lin Fan indeed knows something, but Gwen Stacy's delicate body trembled. But the current situation is not right, she can only suppress the urgency and prepare to meet Lin Fan as scheduled after school. At that time, she can naturally ask the truth without any hesitation. For a moment, Gwen became happy. Finally, she was able to find the truth about her body's mutation. The worry on her face disappeared, and she exuded a youthful and lively aura. Thank you, Lin Fan. You are a good person. Gwen mischievously blinked at Lin Fan. Ding, Gwen's favorability has increased, current favorability 22%. The system prompt quietly rings. Ah, this. For the sake of improving my favorability, let's not worry about you sending me a good person card. Lin Fan smiled and didn't take it seriously. In the following time, the two sat in their original positions eating and chatting, admiring countless others. Jessica, not far away, secretly looked at Lin Fan. Her phoenix eyes flickered with strange colors. Moreover, due to her superpowers, she eavesdropped on the conversation between Lin Fan and Gwen throughout the entire process. She felt very curious about their conversation. Same type of person. What person? Is there anything special between these two people? For some reason, she always felt that there was a very big secret hidden in Lin Fan and Gewen. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, school ends in the afternoon. Gwen, do you want to go together? Lin Fanshao looked at the beautiful woman at her desk and asked. Ah. What? Gwen, who was dressed up to pack things, shook her body and then lifted her head in a daze. Looking at Lin Fan's gentle smile, she nodded and said with a little brainwave. Okay. Okay. Let's go then. Lin Fan picked up his backpack casually, but it was empty inside. Glancing at Jessica Jones in the back row of the classroom, he smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth and walked out of the classroom side by side with Gwen. The departure of the two also sparked discussions and envy among many people. I really envy Gwen for being liked by so many boys. If only someone had confessed to me in public too. A girl grumbled enviously to her companions. This statement immediately sparked a wave of support. Lightning Thompson, who could hear these comments, had a gloomy expression on his face. Thinking of the helper he called, he sneered to himself. Damn the yellow-skinned monkey, wait. I'll let you know the price of offending Thompson. On campus. Lin Fan and Gwen walked side by side, the warm sunset adding a touch of light to the already handsome and beautiful couple. The classmates I met along the way all cast envious glances at them. Who wouldn't love this pair of golden children and jade maidens? Perhaps they don't know Lin Fan, but almost everyone in the school knows about the school flower Gwen. Lin Fan's ability to walk with Gwen naturally became eye-catching. Cough cough. Seeing Gwen blushing and not speaking, Lin Fan coughed lightly to conceal his embarrassment. He tilted his head and looked at Gwen's beautiful profile, saying, Gwen, remember that you live for yourself. Don't let those external things become shackles that bind you. On the contrary, we should use those things to become better. Lin Fan said this from the bottom of his heart, so his expression was very sincere. He feels that everyone should live for themselves. And the emergence of superpowers will only make them better. He doesn't mind guiding this confused girl. Well, I got it. Gwen stared blankly at Lin Fan, and after a long time, nodded heavily. She felt an inexplicable warmth in her heart. My originally confused heart felt as if I had found a direction because of Lin Fan's words. The two of them walked straight outside the school while chatting and laughing. Lin Fan casually asked. By the way, Gwen, how will you go back later? Do you need me to take you home? No, no need. Upon hearing this, Gwen waved his hand and refused directly. But then she became a little worried. Fearing that Lin Fan might misunderstand something, she quickly explained. If there are no other arrangements, my dad will come to pick me up, and I usually stay at home. I only come out to practice piano with friends on weekends. Speaking, Gwen took out the drumstick from his backpack and raised it towards Lin Fan. She proudly raised her small head and boasted. I didn't see it, actually I'm still a drummer. Huh, I know. Lin Fan nodded with a smile and thumbed up to praise. I have long heard that Gwen's band you formed is very impressive, but I don't know if I have the honor of having the opportunity to be your lucky audience. Looking at Gwen's beautiful face, his hopeful expression was incredibly sincere. He really wants to see Gwen's wild side. What would it look like to play the drums when Gwen, a lovely homegirl and school flower, gives people a feeling of being a cold goddess? Pushy. Imagining Gwen shaking his head in head, then playing music and dancing, Lin Fan couldn't help but laugh out loud. He suddenly remembered a famous internet saying from his past life. Who would listen to rock music without being mentally ill for 10 or 20 years? Of course, this is just a joke. Why are you laughing? Seeing that Lin Fan seemed to be laughing at himself, Gwen, who was originally slightly blushing, suddenly felt a little coquettishly angry and said. If you don't like it, there's no need to say good things to make me happy. I don't need it. Humph. With a coquettish snort, Gwen quickened his pace slightly. Gwen, please slow down. Lin Fan saw this and quickly caught up with Gwen. He knew that his sudden laughter must have caused Gwen to misunderstand, so he immediately explained the reason. Who would listen to rock music without a decade or two of mental illness? When I heard the famous online saying spoken by Lin Fan, Gwen stopped in Bumbu. She chuckled out loud with a puff, and as the clouds cleared up, she said. Lin, you Chinese people are really interesting. Everyone is talented and speaks well. I really want to go to China. Ding, Gwen's favorability has increased, current favorability. 26%.